Can you please introduce yourself with your name, age and your current role?
My name is James Phipps, 39, about to be 40 this year. I'm a bit upset about that. And I've got so many different roles in business and in charity, so there's probably too many to mention.
I can see that you've run a few different businesses in your time. Can you talk me through how you first started and your story right through to where you are currently?
Yeah, so I'm born in Swindon, the council estate. When I was at New College, I went and worked in the outlet village when it very first opened, became an assistant manager. And then when I left college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I knew I didn't want to go to university because I'd already met my partner, who's my wife now, I had kids with. So I ended up walking past a mobile phone shop in 1998, straight from college, and thought, these mobile phones, they look kind of cool, right? So they might go somewhere, so I'm going to go into there. So I ended up working in this phone shop. I did every single job. Assistant manager, regional manager, sales director, managing director, and then in 2010 I started to buy the company off the original owners, and I think 2014 I ended up owning the whole company, Excalibur, and I've made it considerably bigger ever since, and in fact I've just sold it to the management team themselves, so it's all come around full circle again.
What made you want to start your first business and how did you find the courage to actually make it happen?
So I started my very first little business when I was 13, and it was because when we grew up we didn't have much money, and I knew that my mum and dad could do with some help, so I started doing gardening bits. And I really enjoyed being outside. I did lots of gardens for older people and I quite liked talking to them. Some of them were lonely, so for me it was a really great way of helping people but also earning some money back, and then started to give some money to some other friends to help me with certain things. So in a way that really was my first ever little business, and the motivation was just to try and help provide stuff for my family, and if I knew there was a pair of trainers that I liked, I need to try and make the money to buy those pair of trainers. So that was my sort of real motivation.
What's been the hardest thing about running your own business?
When you're a leader of a business, it's a very lonely place. It's very hard to sit there and try and describe that to people. It's like when you become a parent, you can't describe what it's like unless someone has been a parent. And it's very similar when you own a business. You've got a lot of incredible amount of pressure on you. You've got people whose livelihoods, paying for their mortgage, paying for their food, looking after maybe their families, is all on the back of the decisions that you make. So it's a huge amount of pressure, and it's the reason why it's not for a lot of people to do a job and own their own business. It's not for everyone because it's got a lot of good bits to it, but there's also a lot of pressure and stress that comes with it as well.
What have been the highlights?
So many, so many. For me, way more highlights than there have been lowlights. I think the biggest one for me was becoming a Times Top 100 company. It's one of the top 100 companies to work for in the country. I always wanted to have a business that people wanted to come to work, not because they had to, because they needed the money, because they wanted to. So that for me was the real highlight of my entire career.
You've been working for yourself for a long time now. What do you enjoy most about it?
Freedom and the knowledge. Because I always think when you're working for someone else, you don't really know what's going on in most companies. So it could be they're about to shut the company down. It could be they're about to take more people on. It could be that they don't think you're ever going to get that promotion, but you don't know that, but they know that. So for me, when you own a business, you're the one that has all that knowledge. With that knowledge comes great responsibility, but you're the person who has all that knowledge, which for me, it meant if there's ever a problem, at least I saw it coming, because I should do, because I'm the person in charge of it in some way, shape or form. So that's probably been it for me.
I can see that you also do a lot of work with good causes, like charities, and that you've also started helping with the Platform Project.
Yeah.
You're clearly a very busy man, so what is it that makes you want to do that work?
Since I've been a kid, and my wife has been with me since we were at school, will tell you I've always been the same. I've always had a desire to want to help people. always. It's built inside of me. So, and sometimes I drive my wife mad with that. Yes, I just want to spend all day, every day, trying to help people. And actually, even when I own my own business, it was trying to help people, trying to help be a good employer, trying to help those customers get a good service. It was always still the same about trying to help people. And that's the reason why my charities that I help and I support are very wide and very varied. Things like the Wheelchair Ambulance, or we set up our own charitable foundation for young people. My main theme across the stuff that I do is young people. I have an absolute passion that young people are the most incredible, surprising and inspiring people, and sometimes with a lot of the bad headlines, that gets lost. So for me, I've got an absolute passion for helping young people to show how good they are. And that's the reason why I love the Platform Project.
What advice can you offer our readers that might be thinking about starting their own business or working for themselves?
Firstly, go do it. Go do it. I have a phrase that I've always used, which is, as long as no one's died, it doesn't matter. Because we get fear in us. And the second that you get older and you get more fear, is how you end up doing things in a way that's not as good as when you were young. So, when you start skiing, you can see these skiers that are 3 years of age, and they're bombing down the mountain, right? They go past you 100 miles an hour, and there's you plodding along. Why? Because first time I went skiing was only a couple of years ago, and I've got fear. I've got fear I'm going to get hurt. I've got fear that I'm going to go too fast. But actually they don't care. That's the best thing, to go into a business, not naive. Everyone makes mistakes. But when you go in with fear, you end up not really pushing yourself. So if you go, into a business when you're young and it goes horribly wrong, you've got the rest of your life to go and do it again, or to go and get a job and work for someone else. It doesn't matter. What you never want to do is live life with regret, thinking, I think I could have done that, but I'll never know. So just go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
And finally, I have a challenge for you.
Okay.
If you could condense all your years' experience down into 3 short statements, what would you say your 3 key lessons are as an entrepreneur?
Good question. 3 key things. One would be brave. You don't get anywhere by not being brave, I think. And it's not about you take risks. But when you're an entrepreneur, you try and work hard to take calculated risks. You try and get good people around you to give you good advice so that it doesn't look quite as crazy as it might seem to someone else over here. But when someone started Facebook, it would have sounded like a crazy, crazy idea to everyone else, right? But they were brave, and that's what's made them successful. I think, secondly, learn to get the right support. You can't do it on your own. Nobody is an island. You have to have that people around you that you can trust and you can learn from, because you'll get better decisions that come out from that in some way, shape or form. And thirdly, we're only human, we all make mistakes. And that vulnerability and that humility, I think, is a great trait for any entrepreneur to have. You're not invincible, you can't conquer the world, and it's okay if you make a mistake. You just learn from that mistake and you're one step closer to learning how to be successful after you've made that mistake. So it's that ability to keep going, and it's tough for every entrepreneur. Every entrepreneur's had those moments of going, can I really do this? Is this really a good idea? Is this a really good business? Everyone has those moments, and it's the people that are brave and keep going through with the right helping advice. They're the ones that people look at and go, look how successful they are now. But someone else might have been so close to it and they just turned away.
Thank you very much. Very insightful.
Right.